All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about two ancient prophets, Habakkuk and Zephaniah. And what's so wild is that their message is incredibly relevant, especially for those times when faith just feels, well, hard.
You know that feeling, right? Where you're trying your best to live a life of faith, but then you look around at the world, or maybe just at your own life, and it's like none of this is adding up. It's a confusing, super frustrating place to be, and it makes you wonder.
And a lot of that frustration, it comes from this genuine shock, this huge gap between what we kind of expect faith to be like and what life actually throws at us. I mean, it seems logical, doesn't it? If you're on God's team, you might think you'd get, I don't know, a bit of a pass to be exempt from all the dead ends, the muddy detours, and the unfairness you see everywhere else. You'd think you'd get an inside track. But that's just not how it works. And honestly, this is one of the first and maybe most surprising lessons in a life of faith. The path doesn't suddenly get easy. And when that reality hits, wow, it can really feel like a crisis. But here's the really good news. You are not alone in feeling this way. Not by a long shot. The Bible doesn't try to sweep this struggle under the rug. Nope. Instead, it actually introduces us to companions who have walked this exact same road, and they have so much to teach us. And one of the absolute best of these companions is the prophet Habakkuk. He's different. He's unique, and for a really, really important reason. Okay, so get this. This is what makes him so special. See, most prophets, they're like God's mouthpiece to the people. They show up and say, here's what God has to say to you. But Habakkuk, he completely flips the script. He speaks for us. He's our mouthpiece, taking our confusion, our complaints, and he takes them straight to God.
So, what got him so worked up? Well, back in the 7th century BC, Habakkuk finds out God is planning to use the brutal, godless Babylonian Empire to punish his own people. I mean, can you imagine? To Habakkuk, this was just unthinkable. Using an evil nation to discipline a godly one, it felt completely backward, totally wrong. And trust me, he was not quiet about it.
He basically stood up and shouted the very thing that so many of us feel deep down. He dared to tell God that he wasn't making any sense. It's just this incredible moment of raw, totally relatable honesty in the face of profound confusion. But, and this is the crucial part, he didn't just stay there, stuck in that anger. Voicing the complaint, that was just step one. Yes, he confronted God. But then he did something even more important. He waited. And he listened. And through that process, that quiet waiting and listening, his whole perspective shifted. He moved from accusation to this deep realization that a life of steady trust in God, especially when things don't make sense, is the only truly real, full life there is. He starts right where we are, but he shows us a way through. So, Habakkuk is amazing for helping us navigate our internal struggles. But now let's turn to our second prophet, Zephaniah. He builds on this, but he tackles a totally different challenge. The temptation we all have to make our faith an entirely private thing. We've all felt this, haven't we? We want God's comfort and inspiration, especially when we're just plain fed up with the people around us. It's like we want God on our side, but we also want to be free to deal with others however we like. This whole idea that our spiritual life is just between me and God is incredibly common. We kind of assume that how we treat our neighbors or our rivals or that person who just annoys us has nothing to do with our relationship with God. And that right there, that is precisely the kind of thinking the prophets are absolutely determined to root out. And the prophets are so against this private faith because they insist our faith doesn't exist in a little bubble. It's not in a vacuum. It lives and breathes in the real, messy, interconnected world. And this really gets to the core message. There is no part of your life that's cordoned off from your relationship with God. Your business dealings, your family arguments, your secret thoughts, it is all connected. Every single interaction matters. Think of it like this. Every action we take creates a ripple. Our lives are this huge web of connections, and those connections have consequences, for good or for ill. We just can't separate our spiritual self from our real-world self. And you know, the biblical term for this great reckoning, this moment when all the consequences of our interconnected lives finally come together, is Judgment Day. It's not just some scary, far-off event. It's the ultimate affirmation that our actions truly have weight and meaning. So, where does this leave us? How do we combine Habakkuk's intense internal struggle with Zephaniah's very external challenge? How do we put these two pieces together? Well, it really comes down to this. Habakkuk gives us permission to wrestle honestly with God, to bring our confusion and pain directly to Him. Then Zephaniah reminds us that this faith has to turn outward, demanding that we take responsibility for how we treat other people. So the crucial takeaway here is that a mature faith isn't one or the other. It's not just quiet personal devotion, and it's not just social action. A truly full and real faith has to embrace both. It's a both-and situation. It means holding in tension our most honest, difficult questions for God, right alongside our absolute, non-negotiable responsibility to the people God has placed in our lives. And the amazing thing is, one actually informs the other. And that leaves us with a final thought to carry forward. When we wrestle with God like Habakkuk, when we question injustice and suffering, how can that deep, private struggle actually transform the way we then turn and act towards others out in the world? How does our faith become whole?